In this video, we will be discussing type 1 and type 2 errors, and we will conclude that discussion by looking at problem 10.69 on page 599. Okay. When we do our significance test, we end up making a decision. Well, that decision is based on our p-value and our alpha. Well, it is entirely possible for us to make a decision and it be incorrect. There are two types of errors that we can make. Type 1 error will involve rejecting H0, our null hypothesis. And we're talking about an error here, so obviously we've rejected H0 incorrectly. The other type error is type 2 error. And type 2 error is failing to reject. Failing to reject H0. And again, it's an error, so it goes without saying that this is doing so incorrectly. The way I remember this is type 2 error is fail to reject. Notice both of these errors are in the context of our H0, because when we make our conclusion, we conclude on H0. We reject H0 or we fail to reject H0. So, again, type 2 error is fail to reject. All right, let's look now at problem number 69. 10.69, page 599. Okay, it says we're thinking of opening up a restaurant. From research you've done, you know that the mean income of those living near the restaurant must be over $45,000 to support the type of upscale restaurant you wish to open. We want a nice restaurant, so we want clientele with some money. You decide to take a sample of 50 people living near the restaurant. Based on the mean income of this sample, you will decide whether to open the restaurant. A number of similar studies have shown the standard deviation is 5,000. A says, describe the two types of errors that you might make. Identify which is type 1 error and which is a type 2 error. Alright, so before we're able to identify our errors, we need to have our null and alternative hypothesis. Well, our null hypothesis would be that the mean income is 45,000. Okay, mu is 45,000. Where mu is mean income in our area. Okay. What are we seeking evidence of? That people have more money than that. All right, so we want HA to be what we're seeking evidence of, this HA, that the mean is greater than 45,000. Okay, so if it is greater than 45,000, we're going to build our restaurant. All right, let's consider what these errors are going to look like. Okay. All right, type 1 error. Type 1 is going to be rejecting H0. Type 1 error. Rejecting H0 incorrectly. So we're going to reject H0. That is, we're going to cross out H0. We're going to accept HA. Okay? But we have made an error. So here's what we're saying. We are saying that the mean is greater than 45,000, but it really isn't. So type 1 error in this context, we are stating the mean income is greater than 45,000, but it isn't. What does that mean for us? Well, it means we're going to build this restaurant, but it's probably not going to be successful. Okay? Part B asks us to talk about that, so I'll leave that for this. So, first part, type 1 error here is we are rejecting H naught. We are throwing out H naught. We are taking HA. We are stating the mean income is greater than 45,000, but it isn't. All right, let's look at type 2 error now. Type 2. Failing to reject. Okay, so I'm just going to come over here. If we fail to reject, we're essentially we're keeping H naught. All right. And we're not going with HA. Remember, we don't ever prove H naught. We either reject it or fail to reject it. But for the purposes of this problem, I'm just saying, hey, we're keeping H naught. We're not going with HA. So, in this case, we are saying that the mean is not greater than 45,000, but it really was. We are stating the mean is not greater than 45. We cross this out. We are stating the mean isn't greater than 45,000, but it really was. Okay. That is part A. Those are our two errors. Part B, which of these two types of errors is most serious? Okay. B, which of these errors is the most serious? Well, in this case, in the type 1 error, we are building a restaurant that is going to be unsuccessful. In the type 2 error, we are not building a restaurant that would be successful. Well, if we're investing all the money we have, then this type 1 error would be disastrous. But if we have loads and loads of money, then maybe this error would be a bigger deal. It kind of depends on our perspective. You could argue either one in this case. For me, I'm going to say this is the worst error. Okay, the worst error. Building an unsuccessful restaurant would be a greater error. You could easily argue the other way. This is whichever one that you want to argue. Where you're coming from would be a good way to look at it. C says state the null and alternative hypothesis. We've already done that. C, done. We kind of needed to do that in the beginning here. Alright, that's all there is for type 1 and 2 errors in 10.69.